The night was quiet, the kind of silence that feels thick as if the world itself is holding its breath. The man, let's call him Greg, was sitting in his car, parked in an empty supermarket lot. He'd been waiting for his wife to finish her late-night shift. The clock ticked past midnight when he noticed movement out of the corner of his eye. Two children, a boy and a girl, stood just outside his car window. Their heads were bowed slightly, their faces obscured by the dim light. Greg's first instinct was concern. What were two kids doing out so late alone? He rolled down the window slightly, just enough to hear them. "Can we get a ride?" the boy asked. His voice was oddly flat, devoid of the natural cadence you'd expect from a child. The girl said nothing, only stood there with her head tilted downward. Something about the request made Greg uneasy. It wasn't just the hour or the strange, emotionless tone of the boy. It was something deeper, a primal sense of dread he couldn't shake. Greg hesitated. "Where are your parents?" he asked. The boy didn't answer the question, simply repeated his request. "Please, let us in. We need a ride." The girl finally looked up, and that's when Greg saw them. Their eyes, entirely black. No whites, no irises, just inky voids staring back at him. His stomach dropped. The air inside the car felt heavier, as if the very presence of these children was altering his reality. Greg's fight-or-flight instincts kicked in, and he quickly rolled up the window, shaking his head. "No, I'm sorry, I can't help you," he said, his voice trembling. The boy and girl didn't argue. They didn't beg. They just stood, there for a moment, their black eyes fixed on him. Then without a word they turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows. When Greg recounted the story later, he admitted feeling both relief and a lingering sense of terror. He had no explanation for what he saw that night, only an unshakable certainty that those weren't normal children. The phenomenon of black-eyed children has been reported for decades, though its origins are murky at best. The stories share eerily similar details. Children, usually between 6 and 16 years old, appear unexpectedly, often at night, and request some form of assistance. It could be a ride, the use of a phone, or entry into someone's home. At first glance, they seem ordinary if a bit out of place, but it's their eyes, those jet-black soulless eyes, that reveal their unnatural nature. Witnesses often describe an overwhelming sense of fear or unease in their presence, as though some instinct warns them of imminent danger. The accounts span across continents, from suburban streets in America to rural towns in Europe. They often follow a chilling pattern. The children speak in monotone voices, their language oddly formal or stilted, as if they're mimicking human speech. They seem to avoid physical contact, and their persistence grows unsettlingly intense when denied. "We can't come in unless you invite us," some have been heard to say, echoing folklore associated with vampires or malevolent spirits. Skeptics dismiss these encounters as urban legends or shared hallucinations fueled by the internet's ability to spread folklore at lightning speed. After all, the modern surge of black-eyed children stories can be traced back to the late 1990s, when a journalist named Brian Bethel shared his chilling experience online. According to Bethel, two boys approached his car late at night asking for a ride. Their speech was odd, their behavior unsettling, and of course there were those black featureless eyes. Yet believers argue the phenomenon predates the digital age. Reports of eerie, childlike entities can be found in older folklore, often tied to warnings of danger or supernatural occurrences. Could these be modern manifestations of an age-old archetype, or is something more sinister at play? Adding to the mystery are claims that encounters with black-eyed children leave a lasting impact. Witnesses report nightmares, inexplicable feelings of dread, or even a series of misfortunes following their encounters. Some speculate these children are not children at all, but entities disguising themselves to exploit our instinct to protect the young and vulnerable. Theories range from extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings to demons or harbingers of doom. And yet, for all the speculation, there are no concrete answers, no verified photographs, no physical evidence, only the chilling testimonies of those who claim to have looked into the black eyes of something otherworldly. So what would you do if you found yourself alone on a dark road and a knock came at your car window? Two children, pale and silent, staring up at you with eyes as black as coal. Would you roll down the window? Would you open the door? Or would you trust that sinking feeling in your gut and drive away, leaving the mystery unsolved? Perhaps in some cases, it's better not to know.